Hey everyone, in today's video we'll be looking at the EVVA Dual, which is a dual sidebar lock that is basically a predecessor to the EVVA ICS with some differences. It's very similar, but there are differences, so let's go through them. So it's a dual sidebar lock. There are two sidebars, and on each side there are 6 sliders that are spring-loaded and have false gates. Let me show you the key first. You can see that it has 2 bitting surfaces and it's compatible also like this. So these cuts basically tell the slider how high or how low should he be. Let's take a look at the sidebar. We have 6 tiny little metal prongs coming out of it. They don't look like much, but they work really nicely. So there are 2 of these sidebars, and the sliders look like this. So you can see that it has 1 true gate and 2 false gates. And these false gates at first sight don't look like much. They look really shallow, but you can trust me that they bite really hard and they are very, very effective. Let's take a look at the core. You can see there are 6 slots, 4 sliders on each side, and these little holes are for the springs because the sliders are spring-loaded. On the sides of the plug we have slots for the sidebar. The housing looks like this. There are channels cut for the sliders, so when you turn the core they don't get stuck, but they move within these channels. So yeah, and also there's this weird metal thing. It's spring loaded. It has no effect on picking, but it goes like here, and I think it's there for drill protection, maybe core stabilization. I guess I put it there the other way around, so it's like in here. Okay, the keyway is pretty open. You can manipulate the sliders pretty well in there. I ended up using a bottom of keyway tensioner like right in here, so I had a latch created, and I was using a SSDF hook in 25,000 to manipulate the sliders. Okay, so let's talk about the picking strategy, because that's most important in here. It's very similar to the EVVA ICS. I'm gonna tell that right away, because the operation, the mechanism is almost the same. So you have to move the sliders obviously in order to make the sidebar fall into the true gate. There are some key problems in this lock that I would like to address and tell you about and how to defeat them. First one is the ping-ponging problem. So whenever you set a slider, move a slider, or if you are too careless when setting something, you can easily drop other sliders, or there are pairs of sliders that like to ping pong usually. So how to solve it is you have to preset some of the sliders. And what does it mean? Presetting slider means that you have to apply heavier tension than usual and make the slider bind, the one that is not binding normally according to binding order, but you can make him bind by applying heavier tension and setting him sooner. And that's the difference between binding order and setting order, because binding order is something that you follow by feel and you are only manipulating the slider that binds the most. But if you try to lift other sliders, you can feel that some of them also kind of bind, and you can use this to your advantage, because you can make some other sliders be set as well. sooner than they would normally be. So setting order is the actual order that you are setting the sliders in order to open the lock. So it's different than the binding order. With binding order you would not get anywhere, because you would end up in a too deep false set or in some false gate, and it's just impossible to force a slider that is fully binding in a false gate out of there. So that's very important. And the second thing that is very important, and it also goes for the ICS, is that whenever you manipulate a slider, you move a slider up a gate or you set it to a through gate, you always need to go through the previously set sliders, because what they like to do is that any movement on any slider on that side of the lock can make the previously set sliders drop like half a gate, like between gates. So always give the other sliders a little nudge when you set something. It really helps, and if you don't, they can keep dropping just a tiny little amounts until they end up in a false gate, and then you are screwed, because there is no way out of there, basically. So yeah, that's probably the two most important things in terms of picking strategy: presetting sliders, forcing them to bind sooner, and going through all the previously set sliders as soon as you set some other one. Okay, I think that's all in terms of the picking strategy. I think we can go ahead and get this lock picked. Okay, here we go. Start on the left. 1, 6, 5, now 6 on the right, 4 on the right, 6 on the right, ping ponging between 6 and 4. I'm having an absolute terrible time setting 6. And 4 is dropped now. Very nice. Let's try again with 1. 4 keeps dropping for some weird reason. And now 6 is dropped, so fuck. Oh, okay. Eat this. Yeah, I kinda zoned out in the middle of the pick. To be honest, I didn't believe I will open it. Okay, forgot actually to show the key. Works. Sorry, I stopped talking because, as I said, I thought this will be another like unsuccessful attempt. Okay, but we got the log open after a lot of ping-ponging and shit. Okay, so let's just get this. Hopefully I will not run out of memory. Okay, so there's this circlip. Let's go now. Now wiggle the core out. This thing springs away. Wiggle it out. Okay, the core is out. Now sidebar on the right, sidebar on the left. And now the sliders, so right side, actually let me, how will I do this? Okay, so this is 6 on the left. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Now the other side. Six, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1, 1, maybe. And 1. Okay, and now those little springs. Okay, that should be all. Oops. Okay, and now the sliders, so you can see there's no mastering. Okay, so yeah, I guess that's it for today. Wasn't actually a pretty big, it's kind of rough, but this log is a little bit old and it needs a little roughness. Okay, thank you for watching and have a nice day. See you next time.